Captain Lee Tejo stared at the screen in front of him. The ship looked broken and old. It was spinning slowly in space, sending out a weak distress signal. His crew waited for his orders. "Sir, it's a Vextai vessel," said Dr. Park So-min from her station. She was the ship's doctor and also knew about alien species. "They're asking for help." Engineer Kim Woo-jin made a face. "The bug people, their ships are ancient junk. Probably not worth saving," Lee frowned. He had heard other humans talk about the Vextai this way. Most alien species called them pests. They had old ships, simple technology, and no real power in the galaxy. The big alien governments ignored them completely. "Sir, I must advise against assistance," said the ship's AI in its cold voice. "The Confederation considers the Vextai a low-priority species. Helping them uses resources that could be better spent elsewhere." Lee rubbed his chin. He thought about his grandfather, who had told him stories about their old neighborhood back on Earth. When someone needed help, you helped them. It didn't matter if they were rich or poor, important or not. That's what neighbors did. "We're going to help them," Lee said finally. "Sir?" Kim looked surprised. "You heard me. Get us close to that ship. So-min, prepare the medical bay. We might have wounded aliens to treat." The Resilience moved toward the damaged Vextai ship. As they got closer, Lee could see how bad the damage was. The hull had big holes in it. One engine was completely gone. It was amazing the ship was still in one piece. "I'm getting life signs," So-min said. 12 Vextai, but some are very weak. "Can we dock with them?" Kim studied his screens. "Their docking port is damaged, but I think I can make it work. Give me a few minutes." 20 minutes later, they had connected the two ships. Lee, So-min, and 2 crew members put on their space suits and went through the airlock into the Vextai ship. The smell hit them first, even through their suits' air filters. It was like old leaves and something sweet. The Vextai ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights gave everything a red glow. They found the Vextai in what looked like their main room. Lee had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in person was different. They looked like giant insects, but they walked on 2 legs like humans. Their skin was green and shiny like beetle shells. Their eyes were big and black. One of them, wearing what looked like official clothes, came forward. He was shaking either from cold or fear. "I am Ambassador Krulunth," the alien said in broken human language. "You dop us?" "Yes," Lee said simply. "We're here to help." Krulunth's big eyes got even bigger. But we have nothing to pay you with. Our cargo is lost. Our ship is dying." "We don't want payment," Lee said. "Neighbors help neighbors." The alien looked confused. He turned and spoke quickly to the others in their clicking, buzzing language. They all looked shocked. So Dashmin was already working on an injured Vextai. The alien had a broken leg and cuts on his shell. "I need to get them to our medical bay," she said. "I don't know enough about their biology to treat them properly here." For the next 3 days, the human crew worked without rest. So-min spent hours learning about Vextai bodies so she could help the wounded ones. She found out they had green blood instead of red, and their bones were more like thick shells. She had to create new medicines that would work on their different biology. Kim worked even longer hours trying to fix the Vextai ship. Their technology was old, but it wasn't bad. Just different. He had to make new parts using their 3D printers because the Vextai parts were too old to work anymore. "This is actually pretty clever," Kim said as he worked on their engine. "It's simple, but it works well." They'd built this to last forever. Ambassador Krulunth followed the humans everywhere, watching them work. He seemed amazed that they were really helping without asking for anything back. Why? He finally asked Lee, "Your species is new to the galaxy, but you are already powerful." "We are nothing. The other species step on us like insects." "Why do you care?" Lee thought for a moment. "On Earth, my grandfather used to tell me stories about his village. When someone's house burned down, everyone helped rebuild it. When someone got sick, the neighbors brought food, not because they had to, but because it was right." "But we cannot help you back," Krulunth said. "We have nothing you need. Maybe not now, Lee said. But that's not why we help. On the fourth day, the Vextai ship was working again. Not perfectly, but well enough to get them home safely. The wounded aliens were healed. Somin had even figured out how to make their food taste better by adding human spices that worked with their biology before they left. Krillin asked to speak with Leah privately. The ambassador's hands were shaking as he pulled out a small, glowing crystal. This is memory crystal, Krillin explained. It holds our most important memories. I want to perform the debt ritual. You don't owe us anything, Lee said. Please, Krillin said, let me do this. In Vextai culture, when someone saves your life, the debt must be recorded. Not just for me, but for all Vextai, forever. We remember those who showed us kindness. Lee didn't really understand what the alien was doing, but he could see it was important to him. Krillin held the crystal and spoke in his own language for several minutes. The crystal glowed brighter. It is done, the ambassador said. Every Vextai ship now carries the memory of human kindness. We will not forget. The two ships separated, and the Vextai vessel slowly flew away into deep space. A week later, Lee got an angry message from Confederation headquarters. Captain Lee, the message said, you wasted 3 days and valuable resources helping an unimportant species. The Vextai contribute nothing to galactic civilization. Your actions were inefficient and pointless. Do not repeat this mistake. Lee deleted the message without answering it. He looked out at the stars and smiled. His grandfather would have been proud. 3 years had passed since Captain Lee helped the Vextai ship. The story had spread quietly through space, but only among the species that the big governments ignored. Commander Yoon Dae-yoon was flying her merchant ship, the Harmony, through a busy trade route when she got an unexpected message. It came from a refugee camp in the Outer Ring where no one important lived. Human ship, please help us, the message said in broken galactic common language. Our people are dying. The water is poison. Daeun's crew looked at her nervously. Chief Medic Choi Min-ho was the first to speak. Commander, that's from the Aquaria refugee camp. The corporate war poisoned their homeworlds. The Galactic Council said it was just a small territorial dispute and refused to help. You knew about the Aquaria. They were fish-like people who needed special water to breathe through their artificial gills. When the big corporations fought over their planets, they had dumped chemicals in the oceans. Most Aquarii died. The survivors were living in camps, slowly dying because the water wasn't clean enough. Set course for the refugee camp, Dae-yoon ordered. But Commander, her navigator said, we're supposed to deliver cargo to the inner worlds. The company will be angry if we're late. The cargo can wait, Dae-yoon said. People are dying. The refugee camp was worse than Dae-yoon had imagined. Thousands of Aquarii were packed into old ships and makeshift shelters. Their blue-green skin was turning gray from the bad water. Many were too weak to move. Trader Zelphos met them at the docking port. He was one of the healthier Aquarii, but even he looked sick. His gills were working hard to filter the dirty water he had to breathe. You really came, Zelphos said, sounding surprised. Most species just ignore our messages. Minho was already unpacking his medical supplies. How many are sick? All of us, Zelphos said sadly. Some are dying faster than others. The children are the worst. Their gills are more sensitive. Dae-yoon looked at the refugee camp and made a decision that would change everything. Empty our cargo hold, she told her crew. We're turning this ship into a hospital. Her crew stared at her. Commander, that cargo is worth millions of credits, someone said. And these people are worth more than credits, Dae-yoon replied. For the next week, the Harmony became a floating medical center. Minho worked day and night to understand Aquarii biology. Their bodies were completely different from humans. They had 2 hearts, and their blood was blue instead of red. Their gills needed water with exactly the right balance of minerals and chemicals. I need to create new filters for their water, Minho told Dae-yoon. Their artificial gills are failing. Because the water is full of corporate waste chemicals. The ship's engineer, a young woman named Park Jin-ae, started building water purification systems. She had never worked with alien technology before, but she was good at solving problems. "Their biotech is actually amazing," Jin-ae said as she studied aquari gill implants. "They grow these things instead of building them. If I can figure out how their systems work, I can make the water clean enough for them to survive." Do spent her time talking to the Aquari refugees, learning their stories. Zelphos told her how the corporations had come to their water worlds promising jobs and prosperity. "They said they just wanted to mine the ocean floor," Zelphos explained. "But they dumped their waste into our breeding grounds. The young ones died first. Then the coral cities started turning black. We tried to fight, but they had warships. They called us terrorists for trying to protect our homes." "What about the Galactic Council?" Yoon asked. "Didn't they help?" Zelphos made a bitter sound that might have been laughter. "The corporations have big voices in the council. They said it was just business, just a small territorial dispute, not worth interfering with trade agreements." As the days passed, more human ships started arriving. Word had spread through human space that one of their own was helping refugees. They brought supplies, medical equipment, and clean water. No one asked for payment? The Aquari couldn't believe it. Zelphos kept asking Yoon what humans wanted. "In return, nothing," Yoon said each time. "We help because it's right." After 3 weeks, Minho had created a new type of water filter that could clean even the worst corporate pollution. Jin-ae had figured out how to repair damaged gills. Hundreds of Aquari children were breathing clean water for the first time in years, but then the corporate security forces arrived. 3 warships surrounded the refugee camp. Their commander contacted Yoon directly. "Human vessel, you are interfering with a legal corporate operation. These refugees are terrorists who attacked legitimate business interests. Leave now, or you will be arrested for aiding criminals." They looked at the Aquari families around her. She saw children playing in clean water, parents who could breathe without pain. She thought about what the corporate commander had called them. "No," she said simply. "Excuse me?" "I said no. These people aren't terrorists. They're refugees. And we're not leaving." The corporate ships powered up their weapons. Daeun's crew was scared, but they didn't abandon their commander. They stood ready to fight even though they had no real weapons. Then something unexpected happened. Vextai ships started coming out of hyperspace, dozens of them, then hundreds. They were old and small, but there were so many of them. Ambassador Kralimph's voice came over the radio. "Corporate ships, you will leave the humans alone. They are under Vextai protection." The corporate commander sounded confused. "You insects have no authority here." "We have memory," Kralinth replied. "We remember kindness. And we protect those who show kindness to others." More ships kept arriving. Not just Vextai, but other species that Daeun had never heard of. Small ships, old ships, but hundreds of them. The corporate commander realized he was outnumbered and retreated. As his ships flew away, he sent one final message. "The corporations will remember this, all of you." After the corporate ships left, Zelphos approached Yoon. He was carrying something that looked like a conch shell made of living coral. "This is memory shell," he said. "It holds the songs of our people. I want to record what you did for us." Zelphos sang into the shell in the Aquari language. The coral glowed with soft blue light, storing his words forever. "Every Aquari will know this song," he told Daeun. "Every child will learn how the humans came when no one else would. We will remember, and we will teach our children to remember." Daeun helped the Aquari find new worlds to live on, far from corporate space. The human government was not happy about the incident. They said she had caused diplomatic problems with important trading partners, but something else was happening in the dark spaces between stars. The forgotten species were talking to each other. They shared stories about humans who helped without asking for anything back. The message was simple. The humans remember kindness. And slowly, quietly, those species began to remember the humans too. Zelphos sent copies of the memory shell to Aquari survivors across the galaxy. In the refugee camps, in the hidden colonies, in the ships that traveled between forgotten worlds. They sang the song of human kindness. The big governments didn't notice these small songs and quiet stories. They were too busy with important things like trade agreements and territorial disputes, but the forgotten species were listening. And they were remembering years later when humans traveled to distant worlds, they would sometimes find a quarry. Traders who gave them better prices or Vexti mechanics who fixed their ships for free. When asked why, the aliens would always give the same answer. We remember the network was growing. Not through treaties or trade agreements, but through something much simpler and much stronger, kindness remembered and returned. 5 years after Commander Yoon helped the Aquari refugees, something strange was happening in human space. Ships from forgotten species were showing up more often. They brought gifts, offered help, or just wanted to trade with humans. The big galactic governments were starting to notice. Admiral Shin Hae-won was the first human to reach such a high rank in the Confederation military. She was smart and careful, but she also remembered the stories about Captain Lee and Commander Yoon. When Dr. Bae Jun-seo asked for her help with an archaeological mission, she listened. "The planet is called Crystal Home," Dr. Bae explained in her office. "It used to belong to a species called the Crystalline Ancients. They died out thousands of years ago. The corporations want to strip mine it for rare crystals, but I think there might be someone still alive there." "After thousands of years?" Shin asked. "The Crystalline Ancients were different from other species. They were made of living crystal and stone. They could sleep for very long times. If even one survived, they might know things about the old galaxy that we've forgotten." Shin looked at the files about Crystal Home. The mining rights belonged to 3 major corporations. They planned to blow up the entire planet to get at the crystals inside. "What do you need from me?" Shin asked. "Protection. The corporations won't listen to one scientist, but they might listen to an admiral." Shin smiled. "Let's go wake up the past." Crystal Home was a dead world covered in strange formations that looked like frozen music. The crystals grew in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. They hummed with sounds too low for human ears to hear properly. Dr. Bae brought her team to the largest crystal formation in the planet's northern continent. Pilot Kang Mi-young flew them there in a small, quiet ship that wouldn't disturb anything. "The readings are off the charts here," Bae said as they walked between towering crystal spires. "Something big is sleeping under all this." They set up their equipment and started playing different sounds at the crystals. Bae had studied the old records and thought the crystalline ancients might respond to music. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, on the 4th day, the crystals started singing back. The sound was like nothing any of them had heard before. It wasn't just music, it was like the planet itself was waking up. The crystal formations began to glow with soft light that shifted through colors humans had no names for. Deep underground, something enormous stirred. "I am awake," a voice said, speaking directly into their minds rather than through the air. "How long have I slept?" "Thousands of years," Dr. Bae said out loud. "Are you Elder Vernash, the last of the crystalline ancients?" "I am Vernash, but I was not elder when last I was awake." "If I am the last, The voice was quiet for a long moment. "Yes, I suppose I am elder now, elder of nothing." "Not nothing," Pilot Kong said suddenly. Everyone looked at her in surprise. She wasn't a scientist or a diplomat, just a pilot, but she stepped forward anyway. "You're not alone anymore." The crystal formations around them pulsed with brighter light. "Young flesh creature, you speak strangely. In my time, the younger species enslaved us or used us as living tools. Why are you here?" Dr. Bae explained about the mining corporations, how they wanted to destroy Crystal Home for its resources. "We're here to protect you and your world." "Protect?" Vernash sounded confused. "But I have nothing to offer you. My people are gone, our empire is dust. I am just one old crystal dreaming alone in the dark." "You don't have to offer us anything," Admiral Shen said. "We protect you because it's right." For several minutes, the crystal formations were silent. Then Vernash spoke again, and his mental voice sounded different, warmer, somehow. I must understand this. In all my eons, no species has ever helped another without wanting something in return. The strong prey upon the weak. This is the way of the galaxy. Not our way, Kang said. She pulled out a small music player from her pocket. Want to hear something nice? It's called jazz. It's from our homeworld. The music filled the crystal cave, and Vernash's formations began to pulse in rhythm with the sounds. For the first time in thousands of years, he experienced what humans called joy. Over the next weeks, the human team spent their time just talking with Vernash. Dr. Bay shared human history, telling him about wars and peace, about art and science, and all the things humans had discovered. Kang brought different kinds of music each day. Admiral Shin told him about human laws and how they tried to protect everyone, even species that couldn't protect themselves. This is friendship, Vernash said one day, as if he had just discovered something amazing. I had forgotten the word. My people had it once before we became proud and cold. In return, Vernash shared memories from the old galaxy. He told them about civilizations that rose and fell before humans even existed. He showed them technologies that had been lost for millennia. Your species is young, he told them, but you have something that all the ancient empires lost? You care about others who cannot help you back. This is rarer than any crystal in my bones. When the mining ships arrived to strip Crystal Home bare, they found Admiral Shin's fleet waiting for them. But more surprising were the other ships there, Vexti vessels, Aquari bioships, and species that the mining corporations had never heard of. This is a legal mining operation, the corporate commander said. You have no right to interfere. Actually, we do, Admiral Shin replied. Elder Vernash is the last member of his species, which makes him a protected individual under galactic preservation laws. Crystal Home is his legal home world. The corporations tried to argue, but human lawyers had done their homework. Vernash was officially recognized as a citizen, and Crystal Home was now under protection, but the real surprise came when Vernash began to wake up the crystal networks on other dead worlds. It turned out that the crystalline ancients hadn't all died. They had just gone into very deep sleep. Across dozens of star systems, ancient crystal formations began to glow with life again. The humans had awakened not just one old being, but an entire sleeping civilization. The pattern repeats, Vernash told Admiral Shin as they watched Crystal Home's formations sing in harmony. The strong grow stronger by crushing the weak. But you humans do something different. You make the weak strong alongside you. The knowledge that Vernash shared changed everything. Ancient crystal technology could heal damaged planets, create clean energy, and even help different species understand each other better. But instead of keeping these discoveries secret, humans shared them freely with their growing network of allies. The major galactic powers were starting to worry. Humans had been in space for less than a century, but somehow they were gathering more allies than empires that had existed for thousands of years. How are they doing it? The Hegemony Council asked their spies. The spies' reports were always the same. They just people, without asking for anything back. The other species don't understand it either, but they remember it. What the big powers didn't realize was that their own actions were driving more species toward the humans. Every time the hegemony ignored a refugee crisis, every time the corporations destroyed a world for profit, every time the strong crushed the weak, someone remembered how the humans had acted differently. Vernash became an unofficial teacher for human diplomats. Kindness is not weakness, he told them. Kindness is the foundation upon which true strength is built. The ancient empires forgot this truth. Do not let your species forget it. In the deep crystal caves of Crystal Home, surrounded by formations that sang with the voices of the awakened ancients, Admiral Shin made a promise. We won't forget, she said, and we won't let the galaxy forget either. The network was growing, stronger every day. What had started with one ship helping another was becoming something that worried the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and they were right to worry. The forgotten species were forgetting how to be forgotten. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, broadcast to every human world at the same time. President Osujin read it in her office while drinking her morning coffee. By the time she finished reading, the coffee had gone cold. The hegemony of dominant species hereby demands that the human government immediately cease all aid to non-productive species. The message said, "You will end all relationships with inferior civilizations, including but not limited to Vexti, Aquari, Crystalline, Ancients, and other minor species. You will submit to economic regulations that ensure proper resource allocation. You have 30 days to comply. Failure to obey will result in total war." The hegemony was made up of 5 major alien empires. They controlled most of the galaxies, resources, trade routes, and military power. They had thousands of warships. Humanity had barely 300. General Nam Hoseo came to see the president within an hour. He carried a thick file of military reports. "Ma'am, I've run every scenario," Nam said. "In a direct military confrontation, we lose, badly. They have overwhelming numbers and superior technology. Our best estimate is that human space would be completely conquered within 6 months." President O sat quietly for a long time, looking out the window at the city below. Millions of humans lived normal lives, not knowing that their entire species might be extinct soon. "What about our allies?" she asked finally. Nam shook his head. "The forgotten species?" "Ma'am, with respect, most of them have old ships and basic weapons. The Vexti are brave, but their technology is ancient. The Aquari have never been warriors. The crystalline ancients are powerful, but there are only a few hundred of them awake. Against the hegemony's fleets, they wouldn't last an hour." Oh looked at the files on her desk. Military reports, economic studies, casualty estimates. All the numbers said the same thing: surrender or die. "Have you spoken to Captain Lee?" "She?" asked. Nam looked confused. "Lee Taeho? He's retired now, ma'am. Lives on a farm on New Seoul Colony. Why? Send for him." "And Admiral Shin and Commander Yoon, I want to talk to the people who started this." 2 days later, they all sat around a table in the president's private meeting room. Captain Lee looked older now, with gray in his hair, but his eyes were still kind. Admiral Shin was in full uniform, her medals reflecting the room's lights. Commander Yoon had come from the Outer Rim, where she still ran supply missions to refugee settlements. "They want us to abandon everyone who trusted us," President O said simply. "If we refuse, they'll destroy humanity. If we agree, we save. Human lives but betray every species that believed in us." Captain Lee was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled sadly. "My grandfather had a saying, when you have to choose between doing right and staying safe, you weren't really safe to begin with." "But sir," General Nam said, "we're talking about the extinction of our species. Billions of human lives, and what about the billions of Vexti lives?" Admiral Shin asked. "The Aquari children who are breathing clean water because we helped them. Elder Vernash, who trusted us when his own species is gone." Commander Yoon nodded. "If we abandon them now, what does that make us? Just another species that only cares about itself." President O looked around the table. "General Nam, I need you to be honest. Is there any chance we could win this war?" Nam shook his head. "No, ma'am, not in any conventional sense." "What about an unconventional sense?" Nam thought for a moment. "Well, we do have advantages they might not expect. Our alliance network gives us intelligence from across the galaxy. Some of the crystalline ancient technology could surprise them. And ... He paused. "Ma'am, there's something the hegemony might not understand about humanity." "What's that?" "We don't fight the same way they do. They fight to conquer. We fight to protect. That makes us unpredictable." Captain Lee stood up slowly. "I'm just an old farmer now, but I know one thing. We've never been in this for the winning. We've been in this because it's right." The debate continued for hours. They discussed military strategies, evacuation plans, and diplomatic solutions. But in the end, the choice was simple. President O called a press conference that evening. The entire galaxy watched as she stood before the cameras. The hegemony has demanded that humanity abandon our friends and allies, she said calmly. They want us to stop helping species they consider unimportant. They promise to destroy us if we refuse. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Our answer is no. The reaction was immediate. Across human space, people gathered in the streets. Some were afraid, but most were proud. They had known this day might come. Across alien space, the forgotten species listened to the broadcast with amazement. The humans had chosen to face extinction. Rather than abandon them. In the Vextai swarms, Ambassador Krelinth called an emergency gathering. Every ship captain who could reach the meeting point came. The discussion was brief. The humans will die for us, Krelinth said. They chose to protect us instead of protecting themselves. What do we do? Asked another captain. We remember our debt, Krelinth replied. In Aquari space, the memory shells sang with urgent songs. Zelphos broadcast a message to every hidden colony. The humans need us now. On Crystal Home, Elder Vernash felt the crystal networks across dozens of worlds humming with purpose. The young species has passed the test, he told Admiral Shin. They have chosen others over themselves. This is the mark of true wisdom. The hegemony expected humanity to change their minds when they saw the war fleets gathering. 5,000 ships began moving toward human space, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, but something unexpected was happening in the dark spaces between stars. Old ships were moving, species that hadn't been seen, and centuries were stirring, and the forgotten corners of the galaxy were whispering with urgent messages. General Nam watched his tactical displays with growing confusion. Ma'am, I'm getting strange readings from all over the galaxy. Ships are moving, but not in any pattern one recognizes. What kind of ships? President O asked. That's just it. I can't identify most of them. Some are Vextai, some Aquari, but there are others, lots of others. Species I've never seen before, Captain Lee smiled. Maybe we made more friends than we realized. As the hegemony fleets moved closer to human space, the forgotten species made their choice. Just as humanity had chosen to protect them, they chose to protect humanity. The stage was set for the shortest war in galactic history. But first, the galaxy would learn something about the power of friendship that it had forgotten long ago. In her office, President O looked at a picture of her daughter and whispered, I hope we're doing the right thing. Across the galaxy, billions of beings who had been dismissed as unimportant were preparing to show the hegemony just how wrong they had been. The hegemony's war fleet was the largest military force in galactic history. 5,000 ships from 5 different empires, all gathered to crush one young species that had dared to challenge them. Admiral Korith, the hegemony's supreme commander, watched his screens with satisfaction. The human fleet looked pathetic in comparison. Barely 300 ships arranged in a defensive formation around Earth. This will be over quickly, Korith told his staff. The humans cannot possibly resist our overwhelming force. But something was wrong with his sensors. Strange readings were coming from all directions, ships appearing at the edges of detection, then disappearing again. Sir, his sensor operator said nervously, I'm detecting movement in the outer system. Multiple contacts, but they're not showing up clearly. Probably sensor ghosts, Korith said dismissively. Focus on the human fleet. We'll destroy them in one decisive battle. Then the Vextai arrived. At first, it looked like a few dozen old ships dropping out of hyperspace. Korith almost laughed. The insect people had come to die alongside their human friends, but more ships kept appearing. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. The space around Earth filled with Vextai vessels of every size and design. Some were ancient cargo haulers converted to carry weapons. Others were new ships built with human technology. All of them bore the memory crystals that recorded humanity's first act of kindness. Impossible, Korith whispered. There can't be that many of them. Ambassador Krelinth's voice came over all communication channels. Hegemony fleet, you face not just humans today? You face everyone who remembers kindness. But the Vexti were just the beginning. The HFY came next. Not in ships, but in something the galaxy had never seen before. Living vessels grown from coral and bone, breathing water instead of air. They sang as they flew, their voices carrying across space on frequencies that made the hegemony crews feel strange emotions, memories of home, thoughts of family, guilt for the pain they were about to cause. Trader Zelphos led them, his bio ship, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that told the story of human rescue and HFY gratitude. We sing the memory songs, his voice harmonized with thousands of others. We sing of those who helped when no one else would. Then came the crystalline ancients, and space itself seemed to sing. Elder Vernash had awakened not just the formations on Crystal Home, but networks across dozens of star systems. Ancient crystal ships that had slept for millennia now flew again, their hulls ringing like massive bells. Young warriors of the hegemony, Vernash's mental voice touched every mind in both fleets. You fight against kindness itself? This is a battle you cannot win, for you have already lost your souls. Admiral Korath was no longer confident. His 5,000 ships were suddenly outnumbered 3-1, and more contacts were appearing every minute. Sir, we're receiving surrenders from some of our own ships, his communications officer reported in shock. It was true. Hegemony vessels were powering down their weapons and breaking formation. The HFY songs were working on their crews, making them remember why they had joined their military in the first place. It wasn't supposed to be about crushing the weak, it was supposed to be about protecting people. But the real surprise was still coming. From the deep dark between stars, species that nobody had seen for centuries began to appear. Rock creatures. From forgotten asteroid belts, their ships looking like flying mountains. Energy beings from nebular clouds, traveling in vessels made of condensed starlight. Hive minds from rogue planets that had been drifting in the void for millennia. General Nam stared at his screens in amazement. Ma'am, where are they all coming from? President O was just as surprised as he was. I don't know. We never contacted most of these species. Captain Lee, now serving as an advisor, smiled knowingly. Every act of kindness creates ripples. He said, we helped the Vexti, who helped others, the story spread. The truth was even more amazing than that. Every time humans had helped someone, word had spread through networks they didn't even know existed. The galaxy's outcasts, refugees, and forgotten peoples all talked to each other in the dark spaces where the major powers never looked. They had all heard the same story, humans who helped without asking for anything back, even artificial intelligences. Came, digital beings that the hegemony had tried to destroy years ago. They flew in ships of pure mathematics, their hulls shifting through impossible geometric patterns. We were scheduled for deletion, their spokesperson transmitted. The humans gave us citizenship instead. We do not forget this kindness. Admiral Korath's fleet was now surrounded by hundreds of different species. Many he had never seen before. Some he thought were extinct. Others he hadn't known existed at all. This is impossible, he said again. How did they coordinate this? How did they even contact all these species? The answer came from an unexpected source. A small human ship approached his flagship under a flag of truce. Captain Lee himself came aboard, along with Admiral Shin and Commander Yoon. We didn't coordinate anything, Lee said simply when Korath asked him. We just helped people when they needed help. They remembered. But why? Korath demanded. What do you gain from helping inferior species? Lee looked confused by the question. Gain? We gain friends. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. Isn't that enough? For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Korath found himself without words. The battle that was supposed to destroy humanity never happened. Faced with odds of 10-1 against, and watching his own crews surrender rather than fight, Korath ordered his remaining ships to withdraw, but the wildest surprise was still to come. As the hegemony fleet retreated, President O did something that shocked the entire galaxy. She offered them the same thing humans had always offered: friendship. To the crews of the hegemony fleet, she broadcast across all channels, you are welcome to join us. We don't want to conquer you. We want to be your friends. Many hegemony ships did join them that day. Their crews were tired of serving governments that only cared about power and profit. They wanted to be part of something better. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed forever. The old power structures crumbled as species after species declared independence from the major empires and asked to join what people were calling the Terran Alliance, though humans insisted on calling it the Galactic Friendship. Elder Vernash established crystal networks that allowed instant communication between friendly worlds. The Aquari began cleaning polluted planets with their biotechnology. The Vexti, no longer treated as pests, revealed that they were actually brilliant engineers and architects. Species that had been enemies for centuries learned to work together, united by a simple idea that humans had shown them. Everyone deserves kindness. Captain Lee, now truly retired, sat on his porch on New Sol Colony and watched the stars. Alien ships flew overhead regularly now, traders, diplomats, tourists, friends. His grandson played in the yard with a young Vexti whose parents had come to thank the old captain personally. "Grandfather," the boy asked, "is it true you started all of this?" Lee smiled and ruffled the child's hair. "No, son, I just remembered what my grandfather taught me. Neighbors help neighbors." Years later, when historians tried to understand how one young species had changed the entire galaxy, they always came back to the same conclusion. Humanity hadn't conquered through force or cleverness. They had simply been kind. And the galaxy had remembered the greatest military victory in galactic history had been won not with weapons, but with the wild, unexpected power of friendship. Returned USANDFOD. In the end, humanity didn't conquer the galaxy, they befriended it, and the galaxy remembered.